All right. Giggity giggity. Happy Thursday. Almost lost what day of the week it is. Thursday, 10:30. Let's get it going. On Tuesday, YouTube would not allow me to. Make sure my sound is on. YouTube was not allowing me to go live, and I guess watching a couple of other content creators, the same type of deal was happening. So let's dive into these charts and start figuring out what is going on with Bitcoin. If you follow my channel, we should already know that the very likely target that is next is going to be a CME gap fill, just under 41K. That is, from a statistical standpoint, it's extremely likely to be filled within a reasonably short time frame. Typically, it takes 9 days or less. We're sitting at 12 days now. Now that we've resolved out of this, I guess, a micro range to the downside, the chances highly increase that Bitcoin's going to go down. However, there's a slightly like a mid-size range that Bitcoin is still in. So let's dive and kind of figure out all these price paths that Bitcoin might take. Let's dive in. Do you think that cheese has feelings? I don't know about cheese. Good morning, everybody. All right. I have a potential bounce point label. Let's make this potential bounce point blue, and let's make the CME gap fill pink. And the one EMA that I actually have more than one EMA, don't I? We've Bitcoin out of this micro range developed by three large EMAs. So again, the monthly 10, the weekly 10, and the weekly 55. Per my video yesterday, I said it's not just going to fly down. It'll come out of the below the blue line, which is the weekly 55, on the 1 hour time frame. It'll come up to check it, and then it'll fall, which is extremely predictable. That's typically how Bitcoin likes to do things, and that's the move we got. Now that it's fallen out of this range, it's coming back into a more like a 4 hour time frame range, and it's still within there, and the bottom of that range is this blue box here. And additionally, you have a pretty strong EMA, this orange line, which is the 4 hour 200. That isn't that is a typical bounce point. However, now that Bitcoin has fallen out of this area and it looks like the pressure to the upside is not going to allow Bitcoin to get a pump. What's very likely going to result is over the weekend, it's probably not going to happen today. Over the weekend, Bitcoin's going to head down to the 41 to 40K area, and then by Sunday at 8 p.m., it will be either $40,900 or slightly less. And it's going to hang around here very likely throughout the whole weekend, or it could take until the weekend, late in the weekend, to get down there. So you might have a bounce on this 4 hour 200 EMA, which you might use on your chart. It could get a bounce all the way back up to 43.2, and then throughout the rest of today and Friday and maybe even Saturday, then it works its way down. I guess that's two ways, or it could get down there faster and simply chop around until Sunday at 8 p.m. New York time, which is when the CME charts open back up. Because if price were to again go down here, and then let's say on Friday and stay down here on Saturday, but on Sunday blast up, that would not fill that gap, right? So it needs to be down there Sunday, New York time, 7 p.m. The time has changed for the charts. It's 7 p.m. New York time, I believe, is when the markets open for a daily candle. And that's your ultimate target. It's just a question of right now, before we start asking me about different altcoins and everything, is will there be a bounce here that is both at the bottom of this range and the 4 hour 200? Will it do something like this first and then get down there more slowly, which would offer you, in that case, it would offer you another chance to potentially get into shorts and all that kind of stuff? Or is it going to take a price path where it gets down there more immediately and then hangs around down there until Sunday? So I'll make that a different price path. I don't really have a good guess on which one of those is happening, but rather I would guess that this Sunday it'll be somewhere around this point, just under 41K. Either of those. So those are two drastically different price paths. I mean, with a pretty large difference. That's 6% difference from hump to pink here, or hump to pink. That makes sense. The pink box, a hump to trough here, but Those are two things to be looking out for. Those are the two very, very most likely price paths at this point leading into Sunday. Hopefully that's helpful for you. And I guess if you want to start firing away at questions, I will have to keep this just under an hour so we can start rocking and rolling. In the meantime, until I get a few questions here, I will go ahead and take a look at Ethereum as well. Ethereum is using pretty similar EMAs right now. You can see, let me take off the 4-hour 200 here. Just like Bitcoin, even though I'm on the 1-hour time frame, I have the weekly 55 and the weekly 10. If I zoom out on this, Ethereum is at threat. So let me zoom out with these same EMAs. Ethereum is at threat of having a pretty nasty cross to the downside. And let me make this cross even more visual. Watch. I will take off origin lines, clean this up a little bit, and then I will take all of these off. Watch this. This is why things could get nasty here shortly. Look at this. The 10 and 55. Look at that cross. The weekly 10 going below the weekly 55. It stimulated severe downturn, right? And once it crossed back down again, that was coronavirus. So the two ways that that Ethereum has resolved itself with this cross is either extended downturns or a type of capitulation. That's not good. And it's getting ready to happen again. The same cross is, trying to formulate. And how I see price reacting right now is a lot of times when two EMAs are getting ready to cross to the downside or the upside, regardless of where price is, whether it's above or below, price likes to get sucked into it. So if I go down to a smaller time frame, let's say the 1 hour, and pop on those same EMAs, you can see how as the 10 is inching closer to the 55, price was below, it got sucked into that cross. You see that? Got sucked into it. And for some reason, just the way cryptocurrency works, typically when you have two important lines crossed, they don't have to be EMAs. It could be a horizontal with an EMA. It could be two, it could be a diagonal ascending trend line with an important horizontal. It doesn't have to be EMAs at all. But typically the rule of thumb is you often get price action that gets sucked into it, for example. So if you had two important lines and Bitcoin fell below, a lot of times it would be attracted towards that cross. And that's how, does it happen? Why does that happen? I really don't have an idea. However, I do know that it's extremely regular. So on Ethereum and Bitcoin, you have the imminent, very bad cross, the same kind of cross potentially getting ready to happen if the weekly 55 cannot be used as support. Ethereum is still using this as support, has not broken back down below, but Bitcoin has. Bitcoin has broken down below this. So let's take a look at Bitcoin here real quick. On a weekly EMA scale, Ethereum is holding up a little bit stronger than Bitcoin. Check this out. Same EMAs, the same cross, red going below blue, and Bitcoin just tanked below it. So it looks like it's going to cross. I mean, it is very, it looks like it'll cross next week. If Bitcoin can't fill this gap down here and then zoom up next week, it's likely going to cross. Now, does that mean it's going to have an immediate effect on Bitcoin? I mean, no. It takes a while to bounce around, and then it doesn't have to be a capitulation. It could just be a slow bleed out, an extended time frame. Could only be 3 months, could be 6 months, could be a year and a half, who knows. However, this is a macro bearish cross. It is a macro signal, and it's getting, look, it's getting ready to happen. And on Ethereum, it's getting ready to happen. A lot of altcoins are doing similar things. Let's go to, something like Polkadot. You already have the cross happen. See that? Red is below blue. That's the red. That's the weekly 10 going below the weekly 55. It's already happened. So DOT is bleeding versus both Ethereum and Bitcoin pretty badly, actually, if it's already happened on there. And that's what's happened across a lot of cryptocurrency. And one thing to, another big thing to keep your eye on is the total 2 chart, because I mean, this is saying that this, altcoins really need to let out a lot of bleed. So the total 2 chart is also doing something similar. So this is my bear market kind of guess. I have a bunch of stuff on here. I should have gotten rid of it, but kind of my theory on how price will go throughout 2022. And I made this guess a little bit ago, and look how well price is following that path so far. Like, I made it back here in early January, right? Just around a Happy New Year, and it's following it pretty closely. So on total 2, which is the market cap of all crypto minus Bitcoin, you have some pretty nasty stuff getting ready to happen, and it's not good. It is not good at all. And if you zoom out, it looks like altcoins have a long way to go as a total market. A long way to go. If you look at the chart like this, I mean, my estimate, my price path for altcoins in 2022 is not good. I think somewhere around summer, you're going to have it really fall off, and then it'll create a base, and then around that time, we could have like a Bitcoin bottom in a summer. It could be kind of a strange one, which I think could align with traditional markets. Now that Bitcoin is not controlled or not greatly influenced by miner sell pressure anymore, it's not going to look the same on a macro scale from a cycle standpoint anymore. It's very clearly prices very clearly moved mainly by large trading desks who are also using the same type of trading strategies and algorithms and trading setups as NASDAQ, essentially. Like, that's why Bitcoin moves with NASDAQ down to the 5-minute candle. If there's a big red 5-minute candle on NASDAQ, which let's go. Watch this. Check this out. We cover this kind of stuff a lot in the community on Discord, but let's see at what time this happened on NASDAQ futures. The dump started so yesterday at 22:55 hours, right? 22:55. That's when that big red cascade happened. Now watch. And this was futures, right? The markets were closed. This is the futures of NASDAQ, all right? And if you want that ticker, which I recommend y'all follow, is NQ1 !, all right? 22:45, and you go to Bitcoin to 22:45. Right there. Started the same cascade at the same 5-minute candle. Same type of deal. Down to the 5-minute candle. And my main idea for 2022 for altcoins, even though a lot more people want to be bullish than bearish. However, I don't know. That's you got some pretty nasty stuff going on. It's a chart to definitely look at. Keep an eye on the weekly 10 with the weekly 55, because it's never been a good cross to the downside, not once. And I don't know if it's a good idea to think that it would be a good cross this time. Looks like no altcoin season. I mean, I would not suggest no. I would not guess that there's going to be an altcoin season anytime soon either. On Bitcoin though, I mean, there is a chance that traditional markets do squeak out another all-time high, and that Bitcoin either forms a macro lower high or squeaks out essentially a third wave. So like, assume this is one wave, this is two waves. If the traditional market squeaked out another all-time high, which is definitely on the table, Bitcoin would either go like this, make a macro lower high somewhere around 50 to 60, or it could bust on the third wave. If traditional markets make an all-time high, Bitcoin could also go to 70K and just go like that. Literally stay in a massive tilted trading channel. And if I throw on my tilted macro range, that would produce an altcoin season, because a lot of altcoins have really cooled off. 70 to 95%. Things like Luna, have only gone down 50%, 55%, but I still think that could create a pretty big pump. However, I think that if a third wave were to happen, I would strongly guess that altcoins make less gains versus Bitcoin than they did here and here. To be specific, if a third pump were to happen, I don't think an altcoin season would be very spectacular, specifically because there is no new wave of retail. This had new people, new blood here. This had semi-fresh, slightly jaded blood, but no new people, right? You didn't have new people come. So altcoins were less impressive this time, right? During that second pump after Wyckoff. And if a third one happened, altcoins would have an even less exciting pump, because there simply is not a new wave of retail here, and they would not go up very much, especially compared to things from February to April. It wouldn't even be close. Now, could they squeak out all-time highs, or go 50% above all-time highs? Only strong coins like Atom, Phantom, and Luna, that are not very far from their all-time highs, but things like Polkadot would not. So if that were to happen on Bitcoin, for example, Polkadot would not make an all-time high because it is way too far down. It would not make an all-time high as Bitcoin did if there were a third wave. It's too far down. It did not make a recent all-time high. And other things like, let's say, Luna, really, it's a pretty damn strong coin. It's got a fairly... its recent all-time high was after Christmas. That's a fairly recent all-time high. Therefore, if Bitcoin were to have a third wave, Luna could, potentially get up to $120 or something like that. But that run is not nearly as spectacular as just this one move here, right? There is no new blood. So, people rooting for an altcoin season, they have to realize, wait, this is why I don't understand that narrative. Where's the money going to come from? Where are the new people? Like that's what creates an altcoin season, is new people. So how you gonna have an altcoin season without any new people? It's simply not gonna happen. Or there would need to be some stimulus type of event, not like government stimulus, but some type of catalyst that would bring new people outside of those meme coins. So an Elon Musk tweet about SHIB, that wouldn't do crap. SHIB folks really aren't cryptocurrency people. They just bought SHIB and they check it once a week type of deal. They don't, through my experience, Dogecoin and Shiba Inu people, they don't spread out into other altcoins and start getting geeked out about what cryptocurrency is going to do for the world. So that's what I see on that. All right. No third wave. Yeah, I wouldn't guess the third wave is more probable at all. No, I wouldn't either. I would say maybe second most probable that Bitcoin does end up getting up to like the 50 to 56K. I could see it come up to here or meet this horizontal. So I'm in my tilted range. I could see it getting in this range right here for a lower high, but I don't see the third wave happening. However, I think it is a possibility. I think the most probable thing is that I don't know. I really don't know if I want to make this guess on a live call, but I really think that Bitcoin has the chance of holding steady while altcoins just tank. And I think Bitcoin dominance has a chance of getting back up to 50 over 2022. So, for example, that would mean a capitulation type of event, or a slow, or no, not even capitulation, a long, slow bleed out of altcoins as Bitcoin just grinds this out. And, it doesn't do anything impressive, but it doesn't necessarily tank way below 29K. I honestly think, and if that were to happen, let's say Bitcoin slowly stayed weak, but altcoins much, much weaker, they bled out significantly, that even though Bitcoin were going down, Bitcoin dominance would go up. I mean, that would be, that's what my gut's telling me. However, there's definitely nothing in the chart saying that's what's going to happen. There is on-chain data that kind of suggests that, because things like the hash rate is making all-time highs. You got some, and that's definitely not a bearish sign. And that you have it simply seems like there's more and more interest in owning and hodling Bitcoin from a hodl perspective, from also a mining investment perspective. And it seems And it doesn't necessarily mean it'll create a wave of Bitcoin, but I think it could set up the situation where a lot of people are going to get what they've been asking for, a separation of altcoins from Bitcoin, but I think it might happen in the way they don't want. I think the separation of altcoins to Bitcoin will be Bitcoin separates from them as altcoins go down. I really anticipate that happen, but there really isn't anything in the charts indicating that that is precisely, how it'll roll down. But that would be my gut guess, from a whimsical standpoint. That's how I would roll with that. But there's definitely, however, I don't want to say that is, some official TA or anything. It's very, very far from it. All right. Do you think we had the market cycle top already? It really depends on how you define. So the question is, do you think we've hit the market cycle top? It depends on how you define market cycle, because it is possible under some definitions that this all, is one cycle, under some mega macro cycle or something, like maybe Elliott wave people or whatever, they might consider this all one cycle. And under those conditions, no, I wouldn't say that. However, for this portion of this, yeah, I think, honestly, I think that my personal opinion is that 64K was the top. And all of this never would have happened, the 69K thing, if the Plan B thing didn't get popular. I think what this was, it would have been a dead cat bounce or a macro lower high without Plan B having taken off on social media. And all of this price action is the remains of the people who caught some of this. They got their butts kicked here, and they were hopeful for 110K Bitcoin. I mean, that, like, remember, I was one of the, even though I did, when Bitcoin was consolidating above its previous all-time high, I did say, all right, well, it does look bullish. If it keeps going, it could hit 95K by the end of the year, something to that effect. Never my, main idea until all of this happened. But a lot of people down here still calling for 110K Bitcoin. Like, the whole environment was the current people that were brought into crypto because of this run, the ones that remained bought back in, and with extra exuberance because of the Plan B stuff. And this was no new blood. And that's why it didn't go much over this. And honestly, without Plan B, I bet it would have tapped out somewhere around 56. It would have been a lower high. That is my opinion. So I think that this was the market cycle top, and this was social media driven false hopes in retrospect. Did I know that here when Bitcoin was at 69? No, because this is consolidation above at all-time highs. That actually looked bullish. But then I started getting bearish because of Ethereum. And that's when I made that video calling for Plan B's. It has a gravestone on it, and it says Plan B, Plan B S2F dies here or something like that. Because I could tell Ethereum was getting ready to break down. And it might have been somewhere over at this point after that little drop. But I knew from that time, not based off Bitcoin, because this was a bullish structure. It was Ethereum that was making me believe that the market was going to turn down, and that was all going to be incorrect. But yeah, that's my thought on process. I in this part of the cycle, depending on how you define cycles, I think that was the top. And this is overzealous people getting sucked into social media. That's how I view it. But because we didn't get a blow off top on Bitcoin, that might mean that helps give evidence to my idea that Bitcoin might not capitulate because there wasn't a blow off top. Without a blow off top, you don't necessarily have to tank all the way back down. You can just grind stuff out and be boring. But as that happens, all the folks looking to 10x and all that stuff on altcoins, they're going to start leaving, and the buy pressure is going to dry up, and those altcoins are going to fly down as Bitcoin remains. That's kind of why I think that could happen. But I don't want to necessarily make a that is a little bit wrapped up within my origin wave theory video that I've created for long-term analysis for 2022. And as of now, the guess is working out pretty nicely. But I don't necessarily want to go out there and be a voice trying to say, oh, altcoins are going to fly down as Bitcoin stays level. I don't know if I want to be quite that bold, but that is kind of what I think. And I think Bitcoin dominance can do really, really well as things fall. Stronger alts? Yeah. So if things were to get really nasty in 2022, I would absolutely focus on, at first, if I thought, we're close to a bottom or we've hit a bottom, I probably would not piss around with small caps. I would go after things that had incredible runs previously mixed with a massive drop. For example, if the market keeps bleeding in 2022, Solana will have had an incredible run, and since Solana is really weak right now, it will have had a very large drop as well. I would be interested in coins to that effect, maybe, but only for the so only for the 6 months after I think we found a bottom, and then after those stronger alts. Large caps were to go up, I would probably take profits and then start diving into mid caps and small caps at that point. Maybe even a year after a supposed bottom would kind of be my game plan. But right now, I'm sitting on Tether. I think, I think the market has too much risk to the downside based off of that, based off of these massive EMA crosses. There's too much signal for macro downside move. For me to want to be, in spot trade positions, hoping for altcoins to double and triple and stuff. I don't think that's ready to happen. But if Bitcoin can grind out, let me go back to the if Bitcoin can, and if you're watching this, take a quick second to hit the thumbs up here for me. It helps out the algo a little bit. And if Bitcoin can grind out more time here and not drop really under 38K and start, coming back out of this 1/4 zone here and using it as support and coming up, I might go half in, expecting Bitcoin to potentially, go back up to 55K up to 50K. I would potentially ride that up and then sell into that rally, but I wouldn't expect an altcoin season. I would go, a lot of altcoins would probably do between 40 to 120% increase, I would say. And I would probably play into that, but yeah, that's the answer to that question. Maybe I should just stay in Tether instead of entering back in. I mean, that's kind of what we're doing within the Discord community. I let them know, I think when Bitcoin broke down here and it was evident that it was going to make a lower low, I mean, we all started tethering up there around this point, especially with the total 2 chart looking as nasty as it was. But until that point, though, this did look like a potential, bounce and go up. Like it still had a strong chance. This was a very, very, This was a very key moment in Bitcoin recent history, and it broke down. And I don't know if it's done. And again, I don't know if Bitcoin's going to hold steady around 30K as altcoins bleed, or if Bitcoin will capitulate along with them. I mean, you do have a lot of market players who would love to be able to, sell Bitcoin on spot in order to, make it tank to a certain level and let mass market psychology, people bailing, take it down the rest of the way. As orders dry up, liquidity dries up, gets everybody scared, it keeps going down naturally, and then they buy it, and it just races back up. I could see that happening as well. So there could easily be a capitulation event, because it, compared to Amazon alone, which is much bigger than Bitcoin is, all market cap, just manipulating Bitcoin in order to make everything drop would be pretty damn easy for a lot of the hedge funds and traditional trading desks that are obviously and very clearly hooked up to Bitcoin. It wouldn't take very much, and it wouldn't even need to necessarily be coordinated. like this was coordinated. I don't know if something like this will ever happen as picture perfect ever again. This was clearly a coordinated event, but now that that has happened, this is something I've said on my community. I think that a lot of people, a lot of large trading desks or, whoever is coming from traditional markets saw, oh, this was clearly a coordinated event. All right, well, let's do our own coordinated events. Now you're going to have just more and more market participants trying to do their setups, and that gets closer and closer to mass market psychology. And I don't think a coordinated attempt can print the exact picture out of a textbook like this ever again. On this macro scale, it could happen on something to a smaller scale, like this area here, but on a macro scale, I don't know if that will ever happen again. All right, what other questions do we got? All right, so somebody's asking about AVAX 11K. I mean, 11K BTC is maybe. I think the deepest wick I could really see happening is these candle bodies down here. I don't really want to conjecture about this too much now, but if Bitcoin can't use 20K as support, the very likely next target. I mean, that is 11K. It could do that. Let's look at the monthly. Hold on, let me look at the monthly candles. Yeah, I mean, it really could. It could. Now, would it stay down there very long? Hell no. It would not stay down there very long. Let's look at the weekly. Where are those weekly candles? Yeah, I mean, the next weekly candle support really would be 11 to 12K. But I don't think Bitcoin would stay down there longer than an hour. That would just be bought up, and you'd have a V-shaped type of thing, potentially then coming back to test somewhere closer to that months later. Typically, you have a double tap of bottoms, but I think that's possible. I think it's possible. But in order for altcoins, even Luna, to drop 90%, Bitcoin doesn't need to go down that far. It only needs to have an aggressive move down to 20 or a wick down to 17. It doesn't need to go down that far. So I don't know if I could see that happening, but it is possible. If Bitcoin, were to drop heavily in 20 to 17 area didn't hold, that would be the next stop. So that's a good question. But it's a little far out to think about that, with a sense of urgency, but it is nice to know, okay, that's one macro possibility throughout 2022. It is definitely a possibility. All right, let's take a look at AVAX. AVAX has been hot as hell recently. I'll start looking at the weekly chart. Something to look out for on AVAX is a rejection of the weekly RSI to its EMA. And it looks like it's just having a little rally, and I would suspect that it does get rejected and heads lower. That's what it looks like to me. This doesn't look good. You just had one rejection, good looking for your second rejection, which could, have a good price increase, and it could wick above. But it looks like it's going to hit that. So I would, if I'm an AVAX fan, I would keep my eye on that because it does have a strong chance of heading down lower after rejection there. Look at the 5-day. 5-day also potentially setting up a rejection right there. Let's look at the EMAs. Well, it's trying to avoid that 1021 bearish cross. And this would be the second thing. The weekly chart's where it's at on AVAX. So right now, price is trying to avoid the cross of the weekly 10 below the 21, which will stimulate a bunch of sell pressure. And right now, before these cross, price jumped right back into it. So let's check this out and put price back on. See how price went down below it and jumped. So it bounced off the weekly 55, came back up. This is a pretty strong reaction, actually. I can't believe it's surprising that it went that far above the weekly 10. Let's go down to the 1 hour and take these off. Look at that's the monthly, weekly 10. Another thing to watch out on AVAX is, when does it break down below the weekly 10? And again, I'm on the 1 hour chart with the weekly 10 on using the MTF. I think you can see it over here. Maybe you can't, but it's an MTF EMA indicator, so you can put on any time frame EMA on here. I would really keep my eye out on that because once once AVAX price goes back below the weekly 10, it's probably going to have some pretty serious downside along with Bitcoin. But right now it is above it, and very few coins are above their weekly 10 right now. It's not a bad posturing at all. It does have a chance to, continue up a little bit more because that weekly RSI still has not hit that EMA. So it could have another, move up as Bitcoin just flounders around. Bitcoin doesn't necessarily have to keep going up in order for this to have one more little, squeak out another high, local high at 102. That could easily happen. But this has been a pretty aggressive run. But keep your eye out on the weekly 10. Yeah, you should be able to replay my live later. YouTube automatically saves it. All right, somebody wanted me to look at Cardano. Even though I'm not a huge fan of Cardano as a project, I do like its chart. Its chart is fun. It's a very interesting chart, so I never mind looking at Cardano. If you want to know what my bear market target is for Cardano, it's around 20 cents. In a wick below. I think this could be your wick area. A little under 20 cents would be my guess. Over 2022. All right. Well, I mean, it's still dancing on this. It's still dancing on this horizontal. I mean, once it breaks down below this, it's going to be violent. It's going to go straight to 40 cents. It's going to go straight. It could actually, it could bounce at 69. It could bounce here. You could probably get a bounce in this box right here. Oh, that's not a box. So this is your midterm analysis for it. You could get a bounce, but somewhere around 80 cents, 75 cents, and then come up and retag. So I would say something to this effect. If 2022 is as bearish as what I think, you could get something like this for a midterm analysis. If it were to break down. But you'd probably get a bounce there. Short-term time frames. Well, really, since its top at $3, it went below. So that red line here is the weekly 10. It tried to use it as support and didn't. Use it as resistance, 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 resistance. Really, the whole thing on Cardano is as this red line gets close to that horizontal, it's likely going to squeeze price down. Check this out. What you want to do is put on your weekly 10 and, just guess of where it's going to go. Make a projection of it, something like that. And price is very, very likely. And let me make this horizontal a little brighter here. Let's make it white. Very important. See that horizontal there? Price is probably going to get squeezed down like this. Actually, that would be my guess. Right like that. That's how I think it's. So I could see Cardano really breaking down below there somewhere in March. Mid to late March. Maybe I would say mid to late March it's going to break below there. Yeah, that weekly 10 is going to squeeze it down. That's going to be a weekly 10 horizontal squeeze, and it's going to be nasty. However, if Bitcoin is able to, have a pump up to 50K because it rebounds after the CME gap fill, I mean, you could see, it's possible that you do see it break out. It bounces around in here, does something like that, and breaks above. Does a fake out type of deal, and then maybe tests it one more time, and who knows what happens after that. That could happen as well, but it's going to be very dependent on Bitcoin. But either way, you're going to get a reaction with this weekly 10 interacting with this strong structural horizontal point. It's going to be a big reaction one way or another. And again, I would guess the pressure would be down because that's my sentiment of 2022. But yeah, I would say late March, mid to late March is when Cardano is very, very, very likely going to have either a move up and out, or in my opinion, it's slightly more likely down below this. Just keep your eye on the weekly 10 and that horizontal. It's going to squeeze it one way or another. It will squeeze. It could squeeze up, but it's going to squeeze either way. It will not. Like, it's extremely, like, as in single-digit percentage chances, likely just to go like this. Like, float out of that weekly 10. That just very unlikely to happen. Single-digit percentage chances. You're going to get a strong move either way. And it's going to be dependent on Bitcoin most likely. And now, if Bitcoin is just floundering around and not having a pump, but Bitcoin doesn't go down, I think Cardano will still have a nasty move out of there. And that would probably coincide with altcoins bleeding versus Bitcoin in the event that Bitcoin, what I was saying earlier in the stream, in the event that Bitcoin does not have a capitulation event. All right. When PDEX, yeah, I try to do the BPro, PDEX, and Polk about once a week. I might have missed it this week. I might do one before the week's up, but I try to do one a week of those. During altcoin season, I'll cover altcoins a lot more so I can, help people not be convinced that things are up forever, and I'll start yelling at people again to start selling like I did in April. All right. Veracity. So we got Cardano. Okay, let's take a look at VRA. All right, VRA also has a pretty big rejection from its weekly 10. That's its weekly 10 EMA. It could not use it as it couldn't get above it and use it as support. One thing to keep your eye out on is this horizontal around 2.6 cents. Similar with Cardano. You have a big horizontal here, okay, where the two ranges meet. This is your happy. Here, let me zoom out so you can see this. There we go. You have your bleed box range and you have your happy range box. Where they meet is a pretty strong horizontal. So you have a strong horizontal with the weekly 10 EMA getting ready to create a squeeze there. All right, so let's go down to the 1 hour, and it's getting real close. Really, really close. As this weekly 10 gets closer and closer to that line, price is going to have to break out one way or another. This weekly 10 is going to be like this. Make that red. And price will have to make a decision. And I would say it's going to have a decent chance of breaking down. But then again, you could just change this last vector, and it could have a violent move up if Bitcoin were able to go up as well. But if Bitcoin either goes down or stays level, I think that this would bleed versus Bitcoin in the event that Bitcoin stays level without doing anything impressive. That's going to be a nasty squeeze. So the weekly 10 is the thing to look out for. It's very similar analysis to Cardano. Very coincidentally, that's not common for Veracity to have anything similar to Cardano, but I am a big fan of Veracity. And if there is a capitulation event, I think Veracity would be, I don't know, that might be one mid-cap coin that I get early on when I think there's a bottom. That might be the only coin that and BPro that I would go after that aren't large caps. That's what I got. Watch out for the weekly 10 and the 2.65 horizontal, 2.65 cents. It could get pretty nasty. Now, would it have to really, really, go down pretty far? No, because you have this area here, which it probably will try to form a higher low, 45-degree angle from that low here. So you could easily get something to this effect, and then it bounces above the weekly 10. After it's able to drag the weekly 10 down a little lower, it could get a bounce and then get above the weekly 10. Come back down, use the weekly 10 as support, and then try again. Something to that effect. That could easily happen. But I would guess that Veracity has a strong chance of hitting 2.2 cents over the course of February, March. Yeah, if you simply go back in time and look at all, pumps of altcoins and stuff, unless it's alt season, and the very few months that it's alt season, this rule doesn't really apply. Outside of the 3 months of altcoin season each cycle, just look at altcoins. I mean, whenever they have a big move up, they typically will flounder around and at least hit a 45. Sometimes the 45-degree angle happens a lot later. It might not go down that much, because if it takes a while to hit that 45-degree angle, well, that's up at 2.5 cents. That's possible, but it's not very likely because the weekly 10 is with the horizontal here. But just over time, it's just extremely statistically likely to hit a 45-degree angle. That would be my analysis, and I think that would happen sooner than later. I think that could happen as early as this month, really, in the next 10 days. It's 2.2 cents, 2.25, something to that effect. Like, something to that effect would be my guess over February for Verasity. And I think it has a strong chance of bouncing there. All right, somebody wanted me to talk about cover idea here. Can you see a trend here? Most altcoins are having trouble with their weekly 10. See all this? Got above its weekly 10, came back down. Came up. Here, let's zoom way in here. What did that wick hit? The weekly 10. See that? I mean, just the weekly 10 is just giving pressure down to everything. Once again, wick above the weekly 10, straight back down. Came above the weekly 10, straight back down. However, this is forming what looks like it's potentially a base. It might try to squeeze above its weekly 10 here. This has not a horrible structure, but also for idea, you do have an important horizontal here with the ever approaching weekly 10. So you could get a squeeze, unfortunately. Which way it squeezes, I don't know, but if pressure's down, it could break out of that. So it could have a pretty similar analysis as Verasity and Cardano. You have the same setup. Weekly 10 approaching a key horizontal, a very key horizontal. Or it could bust up out of there at that point. But I don't think it'll make a decision until next month. Mid-March is probably when it's going to have to make a choice. All right, somebody asked for Solana. Let's take a look at Solana real quick. Yeah, Solana's being really weak. It's not looking good for it. Yeah, it can't even come up to test its weekly 10 since Christmas. I mean, it doesn't look good for Solana. I'm not gonna lie. But what do you expect after from January 21? Like within a year, it did 130x. Like it's probably gonna lose 90% of its value. It's just extremely likely. You don't go up 13,000% and then in crypto and not have a 90% correction or slightly more. I mean, really, long-term analysis, I would assume that it gets, at bare minimum, hits $25. That's 90%. Bare minimum. It's really the only thing in question for me is how it gets there and how much lower than $25 it goes. I would guess slightly more than slightly lower than that, but I think that would be the bare, that would be the most hopeful target. I mean, that would be a generous target in my opinion, based off of how altcoins move. 90% is really nothing after you go up 130x. I mean, that's nothing. Like, to get back up to all-time highs from that point, you only have to do 10x, right? Instead of 130x, just to get back up to all-time highs. Like, so therefore that 90% drop is nothing in comparison to 130x. It's not even close. But short term, I mean, this is going to keep bleeding versus Bitcoin. This is looking really, really weak. So things to look out for on Solana. Gee whiz. Yeah, that looks pretty bad. There is nothing bullish about this. I mean, I guess one idea is that the daily RSI is back above its EMA. All right, so I got above, potentially using as support. It's making higher lows, right? So that's something. That wouldn't make me bullish. Yeah, I think if Bitcoin, I really do believe that if Bitcoin goes back down to, fill that gap, that Solana's going to bleed versus it, and it's going to test back down to its previous lows. And if Bitcoin goes to 38K, this is, which are not new, it's not new lows. It's not even as low as its local low. I think Solana will make a lower local low as Bitcoin makes a higher local low, because it's simply bleeding versus Bitcoin right now. Yeah, it's not looking very hot for Solana. Definitely to the downside. And it doesn't look like it's gonna get any type of I don't see anything bullish about it. Yeah, you have this nasty bearish cross here. Red going below yellow. I mean, that's bad. So next is the red going below blue. I mean, it's just going to be pressure down. You're going to have that same cross you're having on Bitcoin. I can see Solana coming up to try to test the weekly 10 though, up to $125 potentially, or 116 over the next few weeks possibly. But since it's bleeding versus Bitcoin, I don't think Bitcoin's going to do that quite yet. I mean, yeah, I see this breaking down out of this range next week. I think next week could be a pretty red week, especially after this rejection below the weekly 55 there. That's a pretty strong rejection. That would be my most likely case. That next week looks something like, maybe not like I'm not saying doomsday, but next week something like that. That would be my guess. All right. Gala. All right, I still have some Trias back at 475. I still have my Trias. All right, we'll look at Trias. I mean, my target for Trias is probably in the $2 range. So I'm not for sure if I understand your question. Like, that was your entry point, and therefore I'm okay holding it. Yeah, I really think. Yeah, I think $4, 380 is a very, very likely target for Trias. But I think what's even more likely is over 2022, it's at least going to hit $2.50. I think you could, on the way there though, over 2022, you could have a bounce at 380, then potentially have a nice bounce and then come back down. But this would be my 2022 target. If there's a capitulation event, it's going close to $1. If Bitcoin capitulates to 17K, Trias is coming down to $1, $1.10, $1.25, something like that. Only under a capitulation event though. If that's a slow bleed, I think Trias has a strong chance of bottoming out here over 2022 at $2.50. But yeah, I mean, once again, look, weekly 10. It's pressure down from the weekly 10. That's just the way it is across all of crypto. Oh, should you buy back at the? Well, I mean, you could start DCAing. I would. Yeah, I mean the but if you were to get a bounce off of $4, I would probably sell into that bounce and not try holding on to it for the rest of my life. If you got a bounce off there, I would probably resell it and then potentially wait for lower lows. But yeah, that area for $4.50 to $3.80, this box here. So yeah, about 375 to 450 is a potential bounce point. But if you were to pick it up there, I would be looking to sell during the next bounce because it's likely going to come lower over time. That would be my guess. But yeah, that area is likely you're going to get a bounce. I just don't think it's going to be a likely ultimate low. All right. PYR tether. So you got Vulcan and you got PYR. This might be the same thing. Same bad cross. 10 getting ready to go below the 21. Technically, this is holding up better than Bitcoin because Bitcoin's red is going below its blue down here. So this coin has stayed actually fairly strong, but like this cross is going to be bad. It's going to lead to bad things. And look, price is getting rejected from it right now. It can't get back above it. And it's going to be pressure down from the weekly 10 as well. Everything is just having trouble getting over the weekly 10 because we're in a downtrend. Yeah, I think the weekly chart's what to look at. Every time it goes a little bit above the weekly 10, it's a good time to sell a little bit. Pokemon cards, not financial advice, not financial advice. The Pokemon cards of PYR. And, over 2022, if 2022 is as bad as what I'm thinking, just kind of, come down here, draw down 90% from the top, find a horizontal like this. I would say my bear market target is $4.35. And that's without a capitulation event. I would say something like this would be my 2022 target. So between 345 and 425, something to that effect. And that's without capitulation. But even with the capitulation, it would probably, go below it and then immediately V-shape come right back up to that. So either way, this is probably a pretty good target for 2022. Would it be the perfect target? I don't know. With capitulation, probably not. But I'm not convinced that there is going to be a massive capitulatory event. I think 2022 is going to be a slow bleed out. That would be my number one most likely, but a capitulation could easily happen. I'm not discounting possible capitulation of 2022. All right. Tezcatlipoca. That sounds like a place in Mexico. In southern Mexico. Reminds me of Tenochtitlan. Yeah, the Mayan stuff. I can't say your name because it's not actual Latin Spanish. It's more Mayan translation of Spanish. Tezcatlipoca. That's a tough one. Welcome to the Cryptillion tier. All right, let's look at Sylo, and I'm going to have to wrap this up here after this. Sylo had been holding strong for a long... Yeah, it's still holding strong. I honestly cannot believe this. I am nothing but impressed by Sylo. And really, since it's been going sideways so long, you could pretty much just take off EMAs and use structural analysis only. There's almost no reason, and unless you're maybe on the 5-minute chart trading like intraday, okay, 5 minutes to 1 hour maybe, but the larger time frame stuff, it's just all the EMAs are going to smash together. I cannot believe it's doing this. I really don't know what to think about this. This is not bearish long term. I mean, I don't know. They must have something going for them. The chart, there's no other cryptocurrency that looks like that, and it's not bearish. Could it end up breaking down back to this box? 0.002? Sure, it could. But yeah, I honestly, structural, just this range is the only way to analyze this. Outside of trading, trying to trade, a couple times a week on this, you could use smaller term time frame stuff like the 1 hour 200 EMA and all that stuff. But long term analysis is just, it's going to be bad if it closes a weekly candle below 0.004. And it doesn't get back up the next week or the week after. I just can't believe it's recently tested the top of the range. It looks really strong. It looks surprisingly strong, and I don't know what's going on with it. But it's definitely not bad. So this team, has not just been marketing and convincing people, oh, we're the next most amazing thing in the world, and partnerships with this, even though it's not a real partnership, which is what all altcoins say. We're partnered with Walmart. No, you're not. Walmart hasn't said anything about you. Yeah, so whenever you see things like partnerships, if they say, we partnership with Intel, or IBM, 99% of the time that you see that in crypto, you can't find anything sponsored by IBM, written by IBM publicists, nothing, or anything, of that sort that they say, oh yeah, we partnered with this crypto. You rarely see it. I mean, it's close to, I don't know if it's 99%, but it's over 90. But this looks like they have something real going on, not just some marketing ploy to say we have partnerships that you can't find anywhere on our partner's website or any type of literature out there on the internet. This looks good. But I would suspect it comes back down to 0.004 over time and then bounce again. I think it's going to keep doing the same thing. Yeah, that's really the only bet. It keeps in this range until it doesn't. As horrible as that sounds, that is just the way it goes. So that's more likely that it stays in this range until the point that it's not in the range. Then it's more, then you change your analysis. But until then, your analysis should stay the same. You're going to stay between 0.007 and roughly 0.00, like on wick lows, 0.0035, something like that. All right. When I say I have a bearish outlook for 2022, you can take my information as a piece, as one puzzle piece, and make your own decisions. I'm not saying you should get out of the market. I'm simply letting you know what I see of 2022, and how you use that information is definitely up to you. All right, I got to get off of here. Remember, I'm going to do live shows every Tuesday and Thursday at this time, so 10:30. Mark this on your calendar, and we'll rock and roll. And remember that my live chats, I have 8 of these a week on my Discord, and the links to the Discord community are in the description section of all my videos. And make sure you hit a thumbs up before you leave, and we'll see you next time.